G'day guys, it is Ben here from Hunt the Night. Now, what we're going to do today is talk about how to select a range-finding thermal monocular for the purpose you want to use it for. All right. The reason we're doing this is because we get a lot of people calling up going, hey, I want a thermal handheld monocular that's got a laser rangefinder. And they're cool, right? Be able to measure distance in your hand, on your roof, however you want to use it is fantastic. But you've got to get an idea of, or we need to get an idea of how you're going to use it, because each of them are good for different reasons, okay? Some are better in our hands, some are better for remote mounting. When I talk about remote mounting, I'm talking about putting it up on your roof on a spotlight handle or attached to your spotlight. We just call that remote mounting. So we're going to just quickly go through these three different ones. These are all 35mm lenses. They're all 640 sensors. So for today's purpose, we're going to call the image quality is excellent in each of them. And it is. Each of these are very, very good units. But they've all got their pros and cons. So let's talk about remote mounting first. If you are primarily going to remote mount a unit, this is the InfiRay Finder FH35R, okay? And the reason I love this unit is because it's got a nice flat base through here. We can stick a Picatinny rail underneath it, which can then go onto the smart rest quick detach system, or other various systems you want to use. And you can see here, I've still got access to my HDMI and my charging port. So if I want to run a HDMI cable back to a screen, or I want to hardwire the charging port, this is absolutely fantastic, okay? I love this unit for that. But if I want to use it in my hand, I've got to hold it like a sandwich. And it's not as comfortable to me. If I want to zoom in, I've got to press the menu button, and then I've got to press this button here to zoom in. I can't just press a button. If I want to change a color palette, I've got to press this button, and then I've got to press this button. I can't just change the color palette, right? So it's a little bit more fiddling around in my hand. The other thing about using this in my hand is it comes with these InfiRay batteries, and it comes with 2 of them, and you get about 3 or 4 hours out of each battery, which is pretty good. But replacement batteries on these are super expensive because they're really hard to ship, right? So it's not my favorite for in hand, but for remote mounting, you can't beat this unit. And you might ask, okay, why is this Pulsar unit no good for remote mounting? Well, unlike this little flat base down here, in order to remote mount this one, I have got to screw in this little hinge, this little L-shaped bracket. Ugh, get that rubber boot out of the way. Hang on. Get the rubber boot out of the way and screw this bracket in. And then I can mount the Picatinny rail to this. Doesn't fill me with a lot of confidence, okay? There's also no way to hardwire the image out, so you're relying purely on running this on Wi-Fi, which is okay because it runs well on Wi-Fi. The app's good, but from the app I can't start the laser rangefinder. With the app I can turn and off the laser rangefinder on this one and on this one, okay? So it's not my favorite for use for running remote mounting, okay, because it just doesn't fill me with confidence, and I can't get a gun clamp around here as an alternative mounting system. In my hand, it sits really nicely, okay? My fingers fall into the positions on the buttons, which is what you want, except to activate the laser rangefinder, it's now a two-handed operation. I've got to hold them both, and it's okay because it adds you a bit of stability. But if you've got, like me, for instance, when I'm on foot, I've got my shooting sticks in one hand, it's really difficult to activate that laser rangefinder. It's great if I'm from a static position shooting from a tripod, but on foot I find that a little bit harder. To change color palettes as well, I've actually got to go into the menu to change the color palettes. So, it's a good unit, but it's not my absolute favorite. The battery system's okay. It's the Pulsar batteries. It runs the APS5, which is their big battery system. And batteries are only about an extra $80. You can buy them pretty readily, and you can have them available ready to go, okay? Nice, compact, gets in and out of my pocket, in my jacket, really well, okay? Really, really nice overall unit, but there's just a few of those little things that's like, if I'm out in the field, walking, not my, something to consider, all right? Then we've got the HIKMICRO Griffin. Now, the HIKMICRO Griffin fits in my hand beautifully. I do love this little cutout where my thumb goes. My fingers fall naturally into this button position, and I can do all the primary things I want to do from these buttons. I can change color palettes. I can zoom in and out by just scrolling this wheel here, and I can start my recording. I'll take a photo from this button as well, okay? Really, and shoot the rangefinder. Really, really intuitive, fits in my hand nicely. Again, not real great for remote mounting. because this sits proud here, and when we stick this on here, you can see, get the video camera angle right, that sits proud, and that creates a point of failure, and this shroud can actually crack. Bit hard to get a gun clamp around it as well. It doesn't quite fit well, you know, for remote mounting. Not my favorite device, but what I do love as well is this 18650 battery system. Cheap batteries, generic rechargeable. You're going to be able to get these for life, and they just go into here, and then we're off and running. Okay, but it's bigger. Does not get in and out of my pocket as well as the Pulsar one. So if I'm out in the field walking through dense bush, you know, this is good. You can throw this on a lanyard if you want around your neck, but it is definitely a much bigger unit than the Pulsar unit. Anyway, guys, so that's kind of it. That's kind of the rundown on the pros and cons of each of these devices. I hope it's given you something to think about, because these are things we think about. So when you call us, have this in mind. What do you want to use it for? You know, would I remote mount it? Am I walking around? Have I got other things in my hand when I'm walking around? Yeah, that's kind of it. As usual, guys, share it, comment if you've got a question, but don't forget to tag a vegan.